The man called Ezra does not appear in the book that bears his name until the last third of the book. Here's what we find out about him. He was a priest whose specialty was in the study of the law of Moses. He lived in Babylon and apparently returned to Jerusalem many years after the first of the exiles had returned. These are the basic facts. But today we learn something more about him. We learn that he was truly a man of faith who put his own life on the line in his trust of God. Hello, I'm Sturt Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Monday, January 10th, 2022. Ezra appears on the scene during the reign of Artaxerxes, one of the kings of the Persian Empire. Artaxerxes dispatches Ezra and others willing to make the journey from Babylon to Jerusalem to take with them gifts of silver and gold, along with silver and gold items for the temple. After we hear the decree from Artaxerxes, the next chapter of Ezra are written as a first-person account. It is apparently Ezra's account of what transpired from the time he left Babylon until sometime after his arrival in Jerusalem. Today's reading is part of this first-person account, and it concerns the issue of security for the travelers as they gather by the river Ahava before setting off for Jerusalem. Ezra says, "Then I proclaimed a fast there at the river Ahava, that we might deny ourselves before our God, to seek from him a safe journey for ourselves, our children, and all our possessions. For I was ashamed to ask the king for a band of soldiers and cavalry to protect us against the enemy on our way, since we had told the king that the hand of our God is gracious to all who seek him, but his power and his wrath are against all who forsake him. So we fasted and petitioned our God for this, and he listened to our entreaty." Travel in those days was dangerous. A group might be traveling alone for days on end, far from the nearest town. Robbers would sometimes intercept a group of travelers and take whatever valuables they had. Bear in mind that Ezra and his group were carrying silver and gold, a lot of it. They would have been an ideal target for robbers along the way. Now, the prudent thing to do might have been to request a military escort to keep the king's silver and gold safe on the way. But Ezra considered it to be a denial of all he claimed about God to ask for this kind of escort. Instead, Ezra proclaimed a fast as the group prepared to leave, asking for God's protection along the way. So, what is the lesson for us? Is it to trust God to keep us safe from harm in all circumstances, eschewing any form of protection? Hardly. Sometimes stories in the Bible are not about providing us with guidance for our living, but are simply there to indicate how someone else in a different time and place sought to be faithful to God. For Ezra, this was as much about bearing witness to Artaxerxes as it was about trusting God. Faithfulness in this circumstance meant for him demonstrating to a foreign king that God was a powerful God who could be trusted in a situation like this. What this is not about is about putting God to the test, which is what some people do when they claim to trust God to keep them safe from some obviously dangerous circumstances. I wouldn't take a group through a dangerous neighborhood at night praying that God would keep us safe. God never promises to keep us from harm in situations like that. God only promises never to let us go. In Ezra's case, trusting God was about bearing witness to Artaxerxes. In fact, Ezra and his entourage did arrive in Jerusalem, gold and silver intact, without military escort. It tells us a lot about Ezra, that he placed this kind of trust in God in this particular circumstance. What does faithfulness look like for us? I can't tell you ahead of time for every situation, but I can say that faithfulness is something we practice on a day-to-day basis, doing our best in every circumstance to figure out what God calls us to do and doing it. Tomorrow, the issue of foreign marriages rears its head once again. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.